I learned it yesterday. So it's great to be here. I'm really appreciative of Daniela working with our FIP staff, Ilhan, to get this joint session together today. We really look forward to the panel discussion because I think it's going to be very important and valuable for the work that we're doing in this UnitWin program, which I'm going to run through right now. So I'm going to talk about the FIP. So FIP is Fédération Internationale Pharmaceutique, or International Pharmaceutical Federation. They went into partnership with UNESCO in a UnitWin program, which is a global program for advancing pharmacy education worldwide. I'll just point out Nilhan here. Many of you have met her. Nilhan. So she's the FIP education lead for education policy and implementation. And frankly, none of this would happen without her. So it's great to have her as a staff person. Okay, so a little bit about this global program, and then we're going to move into the Center for Excellence Africa and where we are on that. So first thing is this UNESCO program is the only one with a global NGO, that's FIP. It's the only one dedicated to healthcare and the only one dedicated to pharmaceutical education. So these are the main objectives. I'm just going to, let's see, where's, it's not advancing. Okay. So the main objectives here are to develop resilient and sustainable pharmaceutical education and workforce globally, primarily but not solely in low-income countries. Address academic capacity, quality assurance, and workforce competency needs. Facilitate the exchange of knowledge, resources, experience, and faculty, so faculty exchanges. And that's basically what UniTwin is about. That's abbreviated for university twinning, and getting exchanges between universities to learn from each other. Establish a forum for discussion and debate on trends and development, and that's what we're doing in our center here, and we'll talk about that momentarily. And empower women in academia. So those are the main goals of the larger global program. And the key initiatives, the recent ones, in this UnitWin program are shown here. So the first one was the formation of a Center for Excellence in Africa, and that agreement was signed just 6 years ago in 2013. The original schools were from Ghana, Malawi, Namibia, Nigeria, Uganda, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. And I'm going to focus on that, but the other two parts, which are more recent, is a partnership with WHO on developing pharmacy curricula around substandard and falsified medicines, which we know is a significant problem in many parts of the world. And the two members from our center here in Africa are Uganda and Nigeria. And in the recent partnership with the Sphere Kenya Nottingham Kenya program, which Claire Anderson will be talking about as soon as I'm finished with my presentation. And so we're really happy to be a part of that program as well. So, a little bit of the history of the FIP Center for Excellence in Africa as it relates to pharmacy education. So the current schools are shown up here. It's now Ghana and Kenya because of the Sphere partnership. Malawi, Namibia, Nigeria, Uganda, and Zambia and Zimbabwe dropped out before I joined the center. And we're looking to bring them back into the fold. The rationale for this center in Africa was the global surveys that both WHO had done as well as FIP, which showed the workforce shortage in pharmacy in Africa, having the fewest number of pharmacists per population of any WHO region in the world. So the response of FIP as it related to the UNESCO UnitWin Program, was to begin that program for global pharmacy education here in Africa and forming this Center for Excellence in Africa. That was started in 2010. Pardon me, the UnitWin program started in 2010, but this agreement for the center was started in 2013. And Jennifer Marriott from Australia was appointed the director at that time. So where was I in all of this picture, and how did I land to where I am now standing in front of you? I was serving as president of the academic section of FIP from 2011 to 17. And as the president of that section, I made it one of my goals to travel to different pharmacy meetings and organizations around the world to learn about the needs of pharmacy education in various parts of the world. And so one of those, because I had known Jennifer, I said, you don't mind if I invite myself to one of your meetings? And she said, fine, you come along. So I did that in 2014 at the meeting in Zambia. And so over the years, I observed what was going on, participated in some of the progress that was made. And then Jennifer retired from her academic position in 2017 and retired as the director of the UnitWin Program, which happened to coincide with the time that I was leaving my post as president of the academic section. And so then I was appointed to be the director of the UnitWin Program, and by default, working with the Center for Excellence here in Africa. And then Nilhan Usman, again, she joined FIP at about that same time in 2017 as the FIP Education Manager, as I mentioned before. And she has been, I think, a blessing to our program. She has been a great, okay, well, I was going to say she's so much better at organizing than I am, but just about everybody is. But she has been fantastic in organizing us at our meeting last year in Lagos, and of course this year, and was instrumental in working with Daniela to bring us together for this joint session this morning. So, some key developments in the Center for Excellence in Africa program. These are developments that really occurred over the, so remember, the program is about 6 years old. And the first couple of years was sort of getting our footing. But the last 3 years, several things have happened that really have propelled progress in the organization. The first was the 2016 FIP organized a conference on global pharmacy education in Nanjing, China, and hence called the Nanjing Conference. I'm going to come back to this in just a minute, but the results of that conference developed a framework for the future of pharmacy education worldwide. Then the Spear-Nottingham-Kenya partnership, and there's Claire's picture there, but she's sitting right here in the front row. For those of you who don't know, I think she knows almost everybody in this room, or they know her. And this has been also a great partnership with them to help, I think, both of these programs to grow. We also made a governance change in the center, which also has proven to be extraordinarily valuable. So I'll explain that. The original, so we had those countries, and it was the heads of schools in those countries, deans or heads of schools, that were the members of the Center for Excellence in Africa. Now that's a bit of a problem. No offense against the heads of school here or the deans, but I'm a dean, and I know what happens. Is you go to the meeting, you have all these great ideas, you have all these great action plans, you go home and you get blasted with everything that happened in the last week that you were away. And it's very difficult to follow up on all of those plans that you made. So we instituted a number 2 from each school. The deans would designate somebody from the school. They would be the person who would be responsible for all following up on action plans. So deans were sort of setting the strategy and direction. The number 2s were creating the action plans and how we were going to roll those out. This has made a big difference for us in getting our work done, and we'll be reporting on that over the next 2 days of our meetings here. Again, the dedicated staff from FIP Education for the program, in the form of Nilhan again. Getting a lot of good press here, Nilhan. It's good. And this is something that occurred now over the past about 9 or 10 months. We have new leadership at FIP. So we have Catherine Duggan here, who's the new CEO, and Dominique Jourdain, who is the new president. And together, they have sort of, I would say, revitalized FIP and its focus on outcomes that FIP would like to achieve. And one of those is this renewed vision for partnership with UN, UNESCO, and WHO. They've made great headway in the past 6 or 8 months with WHO. And there's like a tight relationship now between FIP and things that we want to address. So FIP, by the way, for those that don't know, has 3 major mission areas. It's not rocket science: pharmacy practice, pharmaceutical sciences, and education. So they really have strengthened the ties with WHO, and they'll be doing the same with the UNESCO program. That brings a limelight to the Center for Excellence in Africa. People are watching us, they're waiting for us to see what progress we make, that then we can hopefully export to other areas of the world. And then the last thing is what we've been working on this past year, will continue, is needs and expertise analyses that we hope will be completed soon, and we'll publish that later this year or early next year. So, some of the accomplishments that we've had, again, there were 2 major outcomes from the Nanjing conference. There are 67 statements on the future of pharmacy education that were voted on by the delegates to that conference. I think it represented 40 or 45 different countries. So this was consensus. And the PWGs are the Pharmacy Workforce Development Goals. These are tied very closely with the UN Sustainable Goals and WHO goals in terms of healthcare workforce. And the Global Competency Framework, which is on the resource from FIP, that's several years old, the Sphere Partnership as well. And so what we did is we used those frameworks to map the curricula of each of the schools within the center in Africa, identify what the gaps were between what was in the curriculum and what were in the statements and competency framework and so forth. And then that was reported out in our meeting last year in Lagos. The list was long for each school. And frankly, not every statement applies to every school because you have different needs in different countries, different regions, and so on and so forth. But over 2 days, there was a lot of discussion, a lot of debate about honing that list down to something that was manageable for us to achieve. But it came down to 3. Academic capacity development. That's in terms not only in numbers, but in areas of expertise within each school to meet the needs. A needs-based education strategy, which has been an initiative at FIP, but clearly you want education that's meeting the needs of the country or the region. So needs-based education strategies, that's a pretty big area. And last but not least is advocacy that's needed to create an enabling environment for pharmacy education and for pharmacy practice. We had a very interesting conversation at lunch yesterday with Jocelyn, and she was talking about all of her advocacy efforts, so we made her an honorary external consultant to our advocacy group. We won't forget it. We'll be knocking on your door. At any rate, we created work teams to lead efforts in each one of these areas to start the process of addressing each one of those important areas. And we'll be reporting that out at this meeting over the next 2 days. So here's some examples in each one of those areas of things that we've accomplished so far or are working on. This lab box project in Malawi actually preceded our meeting of last year, but it's an example of how we expanded or extended academic capacity. There was an acute shortage of laboratory supplies at the pharmacy program in Malawi. We obtained some external funding to purchase these lab boxes that you see in this picture. These are customized lab boxes. So you put in the list of things you need for your laboratory. This company puts together this customized box, shipped it off to Malawi, and it allowed then the students to do hands-on laboratory work. The first cohort of students to use these just graduated this year. We've shown that there's a direct improvement in learning. So we are really happy to be able to do this for Malawi. The other one that we're working on right now, which is new this year, so there's a Pharma Bridge program in FIP, and the Pharma Bridge program links individuals who apply to Pharma Bridge, and they say, I want to learn something about this area of pharmacy practice, or science, or education. And then there are institutions around the world that also put in their names into the Pharma Bridge, and then they're linked together. Well, the academic section this year has funded 5 positions in the Pharma Bridge program strictly for academics. And the reason is because we're part of this Pharma Bridge program at my school, and we host people, and almost every one of them was from pharmacy practice. And we felt that we really needed that on the academic side. So we started this program. We've had one person so far in there, but we're building it up this year, because again, it started only months ago. So this is a great program for staff exchange, mentorship, partnering, and collaboration. And this clearly goes to building academic capacity in terms of expertise areas. Could you go back one? So you probably can't see this. Nope, next thing. I didn't put this photo in here. Nilhan put it in. I'm not sure where she got it from, but this is a sweatshirt from my university here. Got to point that out. Okay, next slide. So the other one is the FIP Education Journal, which is an open access online publication. And it allows us to learn from what others are doing in education, but also to promote things that we're doing within the center and the schools in the center. So this also helps to address academic capacity in terms of expertise areas. In needs-based education, we use these statements from the Nanjing Conference, 13 workforce development goals, which relate to things like academic capacity, training, quality assurance, all the way down to workforce intelligence, advocacy, and so forth. And we use, again, that as a framework for developing needs-based education. And as a result of that, and the work that's underway right now, we're preparing to write a policy report on pharmacy education in sub-Saharan Africa. That's to sort of inform all of us here in this room and external people about the state of pharmacy education and where we plan on going in the future. In terms of advocacy, we've now had a few meetings that are multi-stakeholder policy meetings in member countries. And one of those was the Sphere meeting that we had in Kenya last year, where we brought in, I didn't do it, Claire did in Nottingham, brought in representatives from various areas of pharmacy outside of education to the Kenya meeting, whether it's from community all the way to pharmaceutical industry. At the Lagos meeting last year, we brought in major players in Nigeria in terms of pharmaceutical organizations, so they could meet with us. And of course, this meeting that we're having here today, and really looking forward to this panel discussion, because the professional organizations, whether they're country-specific or regional, are very important for informing us on the education side of the needs and what it is we need to be doing in our curriculum. So it's very, very important for helping us transform pharmacy education. And back one slide, please. And one of the critical goals here in the advocacy region, and this was brought up at our meeting last year, but it's getting professional recognition for pharmacists as healthcare providers, for expanding scope of practice, and for getting reimbursement for those services. This is not something unique to the Center for Excellence in Africa. This is a worldwide problem. It's an issue in my country and in my state, And we've been working on this as well for the past few years. So this advocacy role is extremely important, because we could do all the education we want, but if we can't get the professional recognition on the other end, we're not going to achieve not only the goals of pharmacy, but as I see from your meeting here, pharmacists champion quality patient care and universal health coverage. If we're going to do that, we're going to need that professional recognition and so forth. So advocacy is just really critical to allowing us to reach our goals. So a little bit about the future. We're going to continue to work on our top 3 areas that I just mentioned for best practices. The policy report I mentioned, the multi-stakeholder consultations that we will continue here today and beyond. And then one of the things that we talked about 2 years ago was exploring the possibility of a association of pharmacy schools in Africa. We're gonna have a whole session on this tomorrow in our meeting. But in 2016, I was sitting at dinner with folks from the center, and I said, do you guys have an association of pharmacy schools in Africa? And sort of everybody looked at me and said, nope. I said, okay, I think we need to talk about it. And so I know this from my travels around the world to other associations, how valuable this is for networking, learning from each other, and so forth. So we're going to be exploring tomorrow the possibility of developing that. And then we have our eye toward a future FIP regional conference in Africa. FIP, under new leadership, has started regional conferences. The first one was held in April in Amman, Jordan. For the these are in the 6 WHO regions around the world. That's in the Eastern Mediterranean region. It was quite successful. I think it brought in people from 20 or 30 different countries. And I think what were there, 1,200 attendees or something like that at that meeting. So, we're sort of pushing for one in Africa maybe in the next year or 2. So, and of course, what we do here in our work is going to be very important for that regional conference. So keep your eyes open, ears open. We'll let you know if that's going to occur or not. And lastly, I think you all have, or some of you have, the booklet for this year's FIP Congress in Abu Dhabi with the theme of New Horizons for Pharmacy, Navigating the Winds of Change. So that's going to be late September, assuming the temperature will get down maybe to 40 degrees by then. I'm hoping. So thank you for listening to what we're doing in education and trying to do in education in Africa and frankly globally. And if you have any questions, send an email to education@fip.org. That actually goes to Nilhan and not to my mailbox. Hallelujah. I unfortunately have 100,000 emails in my inbox, so I don't think I'll be getting to them anytime soon. So I appreciate your time and be happy to discuss any of this with any of you at any time during the day today. So thank you.